Boom, 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 boom. East side, B side, what side are you on?
Have you ever thought to yourself, man, I sure would like to make a podcast. I've got so much to say about blank. Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, you really should. It is the easiest way to make a podcast, and it's absolutely free. All right, I'm going to tell you why it's so easy. Okay, so with Anchor, there's creation tools that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. And you can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Trust me, I'm so excited about this. You can be too. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
Hello and welcome back to A-Side, B-Side. I'm Brooke. That's Adam. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing well. It's super hot here today, so everyone has been very, very sweaty. So I don't like that.
Yes, it's super hot here. It just started storming. As of like right now when we're recording, it's storming. So hopefully it's going to cool off some. But
yeah,
it was intensely hot. And I had an event where I had to be outside for a couple of hours.
Oof.
And it was just like, woof. Yeah. Do you have people sitting on the patio today?
We did. We had some people sitting on the patio. Not a ton because, well, it was super hot. It was like 70% humidity. So it was like as soon as you brought a beer or a soda outside, it was sweating. So
yeah. How was your week? What'd you do?
I have been getting ready to move. So I am packing a lot of boxes, and I took a quick trip to see my parents and borrow their truck and leave my car at their place. So it's been a lot of moving around and packing boxes and unpacking like 9 years of memories in this house that you have to kind of step over to get through everything. So it's been more emotionally draining than I probably expected. But 9 years of kid stuff and my stuff, and I haven't had to like fill out application for an apartment in like 12 years, so it's just kind of rediscovering old memories and doing things again that you haven't done in a really long time. I evidently really hate packing, so which is kind of frustrating because that's going to be my life for the next couple of weeks, is just packing and sorting and going through things. And I mean, yesterday I got through like 2 boxes, and I mean, we had like pictures my kids drew 10 years ago, and stubs from movies and baseball games, and everything I picked up, it was like touching a magical memory reminder, and it just would shoot you back to that moment in time. And so I felt like I was quantum leaping into my own life back and forth.
Well, that's to be expected. And then when they get a little bit older and then they go off to college, you'll have even more memories. So yeah,
and it's a good, it's all positive stuff, but it's amazing how something as small as a piece of paper can just transport you back to a different place in time.
I didn't do much this week. This is the first week that I was completely alone. Before I took my daughter back to school, and then I was with my other daughter. So this week since we last recorded, I've actually had like days off and was actually all by myself again. It was weird. It takes some readjusting.
Yeah.
But it's been cool. I just kind of come and go. Not that I couldn't come and go as I pleased before, because she was, an adult, but
right.
Still I kind of tailored my schedule like around, does she want to do something? Does she not want to do something? So of course, watching more shows. Lovecraft Country is excellent. I highly recommend Lovecraft Country. It's on HBO Max.
Okay, I was going to ask if that was an HBO one, because I have not taken the plunge and gotten the HBO Go Max Plus or whatever it's called.
I thought you did. I thought that's the whole point of Stuber, was so you got HBO Max.
Oh, I did. Well, I haven't used it at all. I'm probably paying for it, but I watched.
I'm sure you are, because that's what you said you signed up for, because of Stuber.
Yeah, I guess I forgot that was HBO. Man, really
Also
utilizing that. So
I started watching The Outsider, which is another HBO Max, which is really good, but I have not finished that one yet. That one I think is the first season is completely on there. That's a Jason Bateman one.
yeah,
Pretty good.
But
Lovecraft.
is Ben Mendelsohn in that one?
I don't know who he is, so I will look him up and then I will give you a yes or a no. But it's very dark and intense.
Yeah, is it sort of like a detective thing?
Yeah, there's it's a whodunit, and they're trying to figure out exactly, well, who done it. Lovecraft Country, though, is really sci-fi horror because Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft, the horror science fiction writer.
Yeah.
But it also tackles a lot of modern day issues like racism. There's some police brutality in there mixed in with classism. I mean, there's a whole lot in there on top of the sci-fi elements. So it's really interesting. It's only had 2 episodes so far.
Okay. And so they're coming out like one each week?
One every Sunday.
Because HBO does the more traditional model as opposed to here's the entire season, binge at your own risk.
Ben Mendelsohn, yes, he is the main police officer, if you will.
That's that.
And then
I think that's based off of Stephen King book.
Gotcha. So Cynthia Erivo, and she was also in a movie with Chris Hemsworth in the hotel.
I don't know that one off the top of my head. Only there was some sort of internet device we could use to figure this out.
Hush, I'm looking right now. Be quiet.
I am too. That's fine.
Oh, Bad Times at El Royale.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
She's amazing.
That was like huge. They were like a huge cast, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's her. It's Chris Hemsworth. It's what's the chick from 50 Shades of Grey?
Dakota.
Man, Dakota Johnson. Yeah. Jeff Bridges, John Hamm.
Yeah,
Nick Offerman.
Just like a ton of people.
And I think I actually liked it more than I guess what it was critically rated because, well, it got a 7.1 on IMDb. That's not bad at all. Okay. I was thinking that its Rotten Tomatoes score was pretty bad, but.
I know it didn't get great reviews when it came out, from what I remember. People felt it was a little too like all over the place.
I liked it. But I like movies like that. Like some people feel like Uncut Gems is like that. It's kind of all over the place. There's so much happening, but I really liked Uncut Gems. It makes you pay attention and follow it.
Yeah. And that's not everybody's jam is, paying attention.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, another one, Die Hard on Quibi. I'm not gonna. It was all right.
Yeah.
It's Kevin Hart playing Kevin Hart. So if you really like Kevin Hart, good. If not, well, then don't watch it.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be pretty much the line of delineation there for most people. It's like, do I like Kevin Hart? Then I'll probably like this movie.
Yeah.
But that's kind of anything he does. Like even his commercials. Like what commercial does he do? I don't know, like American Express or something, where he's like in a store buying all this stuff and trying out like new gadgets. And then I'm just like, man, it's just, you really got to like Kevin Hart to even want to watch this commercial.
Yeah, you do. But there you go. So that was my week. You ready to jump on into it? Because I think I'm first.
Yeah, let's jump into it. I will say that Kevin Hart is amazing in the Jumanji movies. So,
are you afraid he's going to listen and be mad at you for bad mouthing his commercials?
I just got to say, the Jumanji movies with he and The Rock are really good. Well, the most recent one he was in. The most recent one. He was in. Was it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember both. If he was in both movies, I think he was.
He was in both.
Okay,
yes.
Good. I recently watched the second one, which I prefer the first one, but the second one's pretty good.
All right, we're going to get ready to jump in. All right, so this story is actually from my hometown. I've got a couple from my hometown, but this one, I can't say affected me personally, but I have maybe more of a connection to it because this is somebody I actually went to school with.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Real close to home. And perfect timing as
Yes.
everybody's going back to school.
Yes, this person was actually not just in my high school, but in my graduating class. They're, I have opened up my yearbook and I've seen their picture.
Oh, wow. Was it a big school?
Graduating class was 360 something, 365, 362.
Okay. I always got to ask that because like my high school total attendance was like 362.
Oh no, it's a pretty big high school.
So
yeah,
it's weird for me to like not have I knew every one of my classmates because we had less than 100 kids. Even if I didn't hang out with them, I at least had a conversation or one class with them at some point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this story starts off with a lady named Ellie Present. Ellie went from Woodstock to Williamsville, you can say. So Ellie was born Ellie Present in 1949, and she was raised in a Jewish household.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, can't really find much about her early life. That's pretty much I know. She was born in 1949. She was raised Jewish until she moves into the Buffalo, Rochester area.
Okay.
Before moving to Buffalo, she lived in Rochester, where she attended the Rochester Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie suffered from bouts of depression, and you got to add on to that, she actually witnessed a former boyfriend admitted to a psychiatric hospital due to drug abuse.
Oh, wow.
So depression, I think, runs in her family, which is important. We need to keep that in mind, that there are mental diagnoses in her family.
Okay.
Well, during a period of soul searching, which I think we all go through,
mm-hmm.
Ellie read a number of books, but it was L. Ron Hubbard's books about Scientology that she kind of finally sense of self with. She said in an interview one time that the Scientology courses, she says, quote, "The Scientology courses calm me down and help me to be able to communicate with people better."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Now I could go up to people and talk about my art without guilt or fear." Ellie was an artist. She was a very good artist. And she actually becomes successful, and we'll get to that. So Ellie meets her husband, Don. Mm-hmm. Don had been raised a Christian. They meet while taking Scientology courses.
Right.
Don is a carpenter. And before long, they meet, they fall in love, they get married. Along comes Jeremy and then Danielle. Jeremy was born in 1975, Danielle in 1976.
Okay.
So Ellie, like I mentioned, she created homemade glass art. And she would travel all over the place to sell her art. And one of the places that she really liked to go was the annual Renaissance Fair in upstate New York. She'd been going for a long time, and she'd really been unsuccessful initially because she was selling paintings. But then one of her friends was like, you should try glass art. So that ended up being a really lucrative switch for her.
Nice.
She said in an interview in 1995, "We've sold over 30,000 pieces of these glass paintings since 1978. Now, I don't know exactly how much they went for, but even if they went for like a little bit of money, 30,000 pieces is going to help you out quite a bit.
I mean, you sell them $10 a pop. That's a pretty good profit.
Exactly. So in 1979, both Dan and Ellie reached in Scientology what they call the state of clear.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that a little bit more later. After taking courses, they received auditing. Now, I know we've talked about Scientology, or, you've heard about Scientology because of Leah Remini and Tom Cruise, and you hear this and you hear that.
I actually did a project on them in college and attended some classes here in Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah. The whole thing is kind of wild. If you don't know what Scientology is a set of beliefs and practices invented by a science fiction author, L. Ron Hubbard, which I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. It's defined by some as a cult. Some call it a business. Some call it a religious movement. It was founded in 1954, and at its core, it is supposed to be a self-help religion. L. Ron believed that the basic principle of human existence is carnal. Things that lead to survival are good and pleasurable, while things that are counter survival are negative.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote his book Dianetics that lays it all out. Look, I'm not encouraging you read it because I'm just not encouraging that you read it. But if you want to read it, that's on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone has, most of us have some base level of information about Scientology that we've gleaned either from the shows, or it's, even before I took it on as a project for my Religions of the World class, I had heard of it. It's kind of it's something that people have heard about for years, and just seems lately there's a little bit more in depth on it. But it's out there. People have at least heard the word.
Right. There's Scientology centers everywhere. And a lot of times they'll get you and you don't even know it. So I can remember being downtown one time and you just get stopped and asked if you want to take a personality quiz. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, sure, whatever. And, I took the piece of paper and I was like, oh, I'll be back later. Come to find out it was a Scientology center. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not going back to that. No way.
I mean, and Dianetics started out kind of like Myers-Briggs. It was a personality test.
Right, exactly. So, and I'm sure that's what they were going to, if I had gone back, that's what they would have used as the personality test. All right.
This is
anyway,
your personality. It's what we've learned about you, and here's the way we can help you use your traits and your personality differently.
Yeah. All right. So, Ellie family, the Perkins family, they lived in California for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They moved to California. They lived there in the 80s. Ellie even worked at the Celebrity Center for Scientology. Then in the 80s, the family moved back to the Buffalo area. So with his family in Buffalo, they get settled. They're there through the 80s. The kids even graduate in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Her son Jeremy and Danielle and Jeremy both at the same time. I don't know exactly why Jeremy was held back, but I do know he was held back because in my yearbook, they're in the same grade. So the kids graduate, and then Jeremy, who lived at home with his family, worked at his dad's contracting company. In addition to contracting work, Don was also a cabinet worker and a carpenter. So you graduate 18. Jeremy's been working there for several years. At the age of 24, Jeremy begins to display some behavioral changes, which in boys, teens to early 20s is the typical age.
Okay.
If they're going to display traits of schizophrenia, if a lot of times, just based on research, so if I am wrong, please correct me, but based on research, autism impacts them behaviorally in the late teens, early 20s. There's several different mental diagnoses that seem to impact teen boys in early 20s.
It's a hot spot.
It is, as is the case with Jeremy. So Jeremy told his dad that he was hearing voices. Well, at the time, the Perkins family sent Jeremy to join the Scientology Sea Org in California, hoping that the Scientologist treatments would help resolve any issue. Right. It should be noted, Scientologists don't believe in traditional Western medicine. Okay. So when they treat Jeremy, they're using Scientologist methods.
Yeah. Not like an actual PhD doctor.
Right. So Jeremy's treatment at the Sea Org in California proved unsuccessful. So he was sent home to his parents. And within a few months, he started working at his dad's business again. In 2001, Jeremy was found trespassing outside of the University of Buffalo. It was August 14th, 2001. He was arrested and he was remanded to a local hospital. And the court ordered a psychiatric exam. He was just kind of found wandering, lost, Something just didn't seem right. So, of course, when he was arrested, that's why the court ordered this. And they confirmed that he did have a diagnosis of schizophrenia in 2001. To be clear, because I know there's a lot of different diagnoses, and I want to be clear on what schizophrenia is. It's a diagnosis that describes a mental disorder characterized by impairments in the perception or expression of reality. Remember, Jeremy said he was hearing voices.
Mm-hmm.
It also impacts social awareness and social behaviors, and sometimes or a lot of times it impacts occupational behaviors as well.
So could impact virtually every phase of his life.
Exactly. So a person experiencing schizophrenia, they are characterized, they usually demonstrate disorganized thinking, they experience delusions, hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, aka hearing voices. It's a disorder that's primarily thought to affect cognition, but it also can contribute to behavioral and emotional issues.
Right.
Okay. So Ellie was able to convince the court to release Jeremy into her custody instead of keeping him in like a psychiatric hospital or anything like that. And she decided to seek out alternative methods of treatment. Again, Scientologists don't believe in traditional Western medicine. Psychology, a traditional Western type of treatment. A friend of the family said that Ellie strongly believed that psychology was evil, and she would not consult a psychiatrist about Jeremy's mental health. Well, what happens when you don't treat something?
It tends to get worse.
It does. And unfortunately, that's what happened without proper treatment. And I'm not knocking Scientology. If that's your thing, that's your deal. I personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking a psychiatrist or a psychologist or getting help, or if you need medicine, take the medicine.
Yeah. And in this case, it seems like there was a potential opportunity to go a different route, and they didn't explore that as much as they should have.
Yeah. So Jeremy's condition continued to decline. Over the summer of 2002, his father had to terminate his employment because, remember, it impacts all aspects of your life. Yeah. And so it impacted him so much that his dad had to fire him. That fall, the Perkins consulted with Dr. Conrad Malfour. He's an osteopathic physician and Scientologist. So not Western medicine.
Yeah, that was a big word, osteopathic.
Just like home remedies.
Gotcha.
Natural remedies, which I'm all for natural medicine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying run to the doctor and get, medicine for every single thing.
But these are potentially contributing factors to this guy not getting better.
Exactly. You got a cold. Hey, get some herbal tea and some honey and some lemon. Knock that baby out.
Yeah. And maybe even some Claritin if you think so.
Sure. But if you don't want to take medicine,
then
options. You don't take Claritin. Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you have something potentially impacting your entire life and that could become dangerous, I don't know if vitamins are the answer, and I'm not trying to speak ill here, but I don't want the Scientologists coming after me. Lord knows I've heard stories.
Yeah, we've all seen the TV shows.
Right. So the family sends Jeremy to consult with Dr. Conrad Malfour.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Conrad Malfour concludes that he was suffering from digestive problems, and he had certain chemical toxins in the body that needed to be purged and the toxins energized.
I mean, I've had a lot of chemical toxins in my body, but it never made me hear voices.
Exactly. But that is another big aspect of Scientology. They believe that you just have toxins in your body and you can get rid of them, or you have to vibrate your energies to a certain level. Remember, this is a religion or whatever that was created by a science fiction writer.
Right. It was a personality test that ran amok.
Yeah. So Dr. Conrad Malfour, he said that through vitamin therapy, everything should be fine. So Ellie fed Jeremy the recommended vitamins, but Jeremy didn't like that, and he started to become suspicious of his mom. He even asked, in a recorded interview with Jeremy, when asked what his concerns were about taking the vitamins, he said, well, the concern was just that maybe she's trying to poison me or something.
Oh, boy.
So he, again, schizophrenia.
Expecting every aspect of his life.
Exactly. So when you are schizophrenic, you are very, he's like I said, he was diagnosed as a schizophrenic. So you become very paranoid. You think people are out to get you sometimes.
If you're hearing voices, it's hard to trust anything, you know?
Yeah. So in February of 2003, Ellie took Jeremy to see Albert Brown, who is a self-taught natural healer. Jeremy told Albert in a session, he said, sometimes I think I'm Jesus Christ.
Wow. I mean,
delusions.
If you're going to pick somebody, I guess go big.
Go big or go home. You know what I'm saying? But again, schizophrenia, there's delusions, there's hallucinations. He was delusional. He said, sometimes I think I'm Jesus Christ. So, of course, no medicine, still taking vitamins. Jeremy's condition continued to decline. So Ellie consulted. Right. Yeah. So now remember, Jeremy has a sister.
Danielle.
His sister is Danielle. Yes. Danielle married a guy named Jeff Carlson, who was actually the executive director, or became the executive director of the Buffalo Church of Scientology. And Jeff told Ellie, well, just give Jeremy mest, or what they call it's called mess, but it's busy work, like around the house, in order to get him tired. Okay. MEST stands for matter, energy, space, and time. L. Ron Hubbard used the term MEST in place of the phrase physical universe, because according to L. Ron Hubbard, theta energy, or souls and spiritual energies, exist in a separate universe from the MEST, the matter, energy, space, and time universe. It's all like, huh? What?
Yeah, I don't know that I completely followed Elle on that one. So
yeah, I'm just like, I'm gonna let you have that one, Elle. You go, you do you, right?
So this busy work around the house was meant to help soothe
tire him out, make him
physically and spiritually,
physically and mentally, so that he wasn't hearing voices and having these delusions. You know, when you're tired, you're exhausted, your brain is not thinking. When you're tired, your brain it kind of shuts down, and I think that was supposed to be the plan.
If you're constantly like focusing on activities that you're doing, you're not overthinking, you're not allowing your imagination to go. You're just like getting from point A to point B. It's like if you're on an assembly line and you're constantly putting the widget in the box, and you're just focused on that, all you're going to think about is widgets and boxes.
Right. And you're not going to tell everybody you're Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, if you do, maybe it's like the water cooler or something.
I mean,
it makes some sense. Try to stay active.
At the water cooler, you'd have some interesting conversations if that was your belief.
I mean, that people would be making the "can we turn this into wine" joke.
So, aside from L. Ron Hubbard creating this religion, he's also a white male in the 50s. So he had some really bigoted point of views, like really bigoted, racist, homo point of views. I'm just going to throw that out there about L. Ron Hubbard. The man, the myth, the legend.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy declines, and it gets really bad. It was so severe that he actually ended up exhausting all of the church's efforts to help him. They classified him as a level 3 potential trouble source and banned him from any further Scientology courses.
Wow. So their treatment didn't work, so they banned him.
Right. Instead of trying to continue to help him, they just said, all right, you're done. You're out. You've exhausted all of our resources. We can't help you.
Huh.
Which, if you're a religion, isn't that counterintuitive?
Well, it should bring to mind if all of our, solutions aren't fixing the problem, is it maybe a question of our solutions? But
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's counterintuitive because the whole point is to continue to try to help and make you better,
Mhm.
to heal you, if you will.
Yeah,
They gave up.
they pulled a Pontius Pilate and they washed their hands of it, and they're like, this kid can't come around anymore.
Figure it out on your own, kid. So in March, Ellie decided she wanted to send Jeremy back to Albert Brown to live with Albert for treatment.
This is the homeopathic.
This is the natural healer. This is not the osteopathic. Yes, this is the self-taught. Yes, the self-taught natural healer. So Jeremy was all set to go live with Albert Brown. But in the days before he was set to leave, Jeremy's aggression increased. So on the morning of March 13th, an argument happened between Jeremy and Ellie. The argument was so bad that at some point in the morning, Don left work and came home to aid in the argument before going back to work.
So son is fighting with mom, gets so bad that she's like, I'm going to call your father and he's going to come down here, and he comes down and they're still going, and then he goes back to work.
Yes. Well, I guess he came home, he helped to calm things down.
Right.
Everybody thought everything was nice and calm. Don goes back to work. Jeremy's mom tells Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and take a shower? So Jeremy goes to take a shower. Mm-hmm. When he finishes his shower, he finds his mom in the kitchen. She's talking on the phone. Jeremy walks in the kitchen. Now, I know that this is a true crime podcast, but I do want to warn you that it does get a little graphic.
Yeah, I felt like that was coming.
So Jeremy walks in the kitchen, gets a steak knife, and attacks Ellie.
Just out of the blue. Like, I came out of the shower and now I'm going to attack you.
Now, remember, he's delusional. He's had no help. So in his mind, even though everybody else thinks that this argument is over, in his mind, there's still something brewing and happening.
Yeah. And we've all been in fights where they have a roller coaster effect to them at some point. We've all been in arguments with people we care about where you think it's over and then somebody says something, or 5 minutes later you do that thing where you come back in and you're like, oh, and another thing. It's the nature of human emotion.
But we do it with our words.
True.
Not with knives.
Yeah, not with knives.
So according to a statement given to police, Jeremy said, I tried to slit my wrists after the shower, but I wouldn't die. So I decided to do my mom instead. She was screaming, no, Jeremy, don't. I stabbed her about 4 to 5 times before she fell down. I then stabbed her about 10 more times in her stomach after she fell to the ground. I knew she was a goner. I believe that I have lived different lives for the past 1,000 years, and I wish I was in another life now.
Whoa.
He said he attempted to cut out her right eye because he thought it was evil. That attempt was unsuccessful.
Hey, sheesh.
In his interview with police, he made statements like, she gets mad at me when I play my drums in my room, and she makes me take my vitamins every day. He said he didn't like the way the vitamins made him feel, so he flushed down the toilet. According to police reports, he also stated that he knew when to shower and when he didn't, and he didn't need his mom to tell him. So not only is he not clear thinking, but it's also kind of immature.
Yeah.
Like, she got mad at me because I was playing my drums. She got mad at me. She told me I had to shower. She made me take my vitamins. I'm not making fun of him at all. I'm just saying this is mentally where he's at.
Yeah. On a hierarchy of offenses, those are pretty low.
Right. I mean, I've told my kid to shower before
Yeah,
when she was
you
home. I'm
wouldn't
like, why don't you get up and shower?
you wouldn't think that that would be enough to set somebody off unless they're already sitting on a potential mental powder keg.
Yeah. So he said, when she made me take the shower this morning, this was the last straw. Of course, after Jeremy's police statements, it led to a court-ordered psychiatric examination. Autopsy results on Ellie show that she was stabbed 77 times.
Dear God.
So remember, he said 4 or 5 times and then maybe 10 more times. So he even lost track how many times he stabbed her.
Just pure rage.
Just violent rage. Yeah. He just lost it. And I guess maybe he disassociated and just kept.
And maybe this is not mentioned in any of the research, but did he have marks? Did it look like he tried on himself, or was that all mental?
I didn't see that in any of the reports.
I feel like
with you.
I feel like if he had, it would have been like he did have, that did look like he was bleeding or something.
Yeah, I even looked at the police reports and there was no mention of any marks that I saw. I could have missed it.
But yeah,
I did. Like I said, I missed through police reports and I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, I feel like they would have to mention, hey, this guy's bleeding.
In June, now this happened in March. In June of 2003, Jeremy pled not guilty to charges of criminal weapons and second-degree murder in Erie County Court. The district attorney in the case stated that death by stabbing is not unusual in homicides, but that 77 stab wounds is, quote, really rare.
Yeah, unless you're in like a horror movie.
Right. And even then, I don't think Jason or Michael Myers,
No.
I don't recall Michael Myers stabbing that many times.
They're pretty efficient with their killing because they got a lot of people to kill in the movie. So,
so this caused the 77 stab wounds forced another psychiatric exam. Mm-hmm. Jeremy was found not responsible by reason of mental disease or defect on July 29th, 2003. Probation. 6 months later, on January 29th, a commitment order was issued, which assessed him as, quote, dangerously mentally ill. Mm. And it authorized him to be committed in a secure facility by the New York State Office of Mental Health.
So he was out for 6 months?
Yeah.
Oh. Talk about a powder.
And after that, they were like, he's way too dangerous to be out. He has to be confined. He was examined at the forensic unit of Rochester's psychiatric unit, and all the research that I could find says he's still there. I have not seen any release papers, or there is nothing to say that he's been released based on all the research that I did.
Well, that's good at least, because it sounds like he probably isn't fit for the general population.
I'm sure if he was on the right medication, or if they have gotten his medication correct, I'm not going to say he's not dangerous, but I'm sure he would be functional.
He would have had a better chance to avoid this current life.
I mean, there are people living with schizophrenia, living what quote unquote normal lives. In 2006, there was an ad in LA Weekly that blamed Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology for Ellie's violent death. The ad stated, quote, thanks Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology for your expert mental health. The ad recounted Ellie's death gruesomely, saying she was killed by the schizophrenic son she was told to treat with vitamins instead of psychiatric care. The ad also cites the website perkinstragedy.org, which you can go on and find a lot of information about this case as well. And it links to different articles. It links to police reports as well. On October 28th of 2006, 48 Hours on CBS, they aired a segment on Ellie's death. CBS,
who paid for the ad?
That's a good question.
Like, was it the family? Was it a...
No. I mean, why would the family take an ad out blaming Scientology. They're still Scientologists.
They're still Scientologists after all this?
Yeah, they're still Scientologists. 100%.
That's that's the minutia that I'm like, who paid for the ad? That's not a cheap ad.
No, it's not a cheap ad. I don't know. It didn't say.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's not something that the paper has to disclose. So
they don't care. They got their money.
Yeah. And they probably want to stay out of it.
It could be the people behind this website, perkinstragedy.org, because it does list and link this website, or it does cite the website. So it may be that. Because this site is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Apologetic towards Jeremy.
Okay.
I guess you could say it seems to lean in his, not favor, but it seems to basically take this, from what I got when I looked at it, it basically takes the stand that if he had help, things would have been different.
Right.
On October 28th of 2006, 48 Hours on CBS ran a segment on Ellie's death. And then CBS later reported on the background behind the production of the program. And they wrote that they had received complaints from Scientologists and the Scientology community because they were not happy with the story, which raised the possibility that Ellie might not have been murdered had her son been given psychiatric treatment. According to CBS, the Church of Scientology did not provide the 48 Hours production staff with an official spokesman, and they attempted to influence the broadcast itself, which I have heard that the church does try to influence things quite frequently.
Right. I mean, any organization that's getting their name dragged through the mud and has power will do what they can to have that stop.
Mm-hmm.
How much different it could have been if he had just been given some different tools or some actual tools.
According to them, they gave him actual tools. He just wasn't receiving them. It's a very sad story. I remember when I first found out, talking to old friends from high school, and you're catching up with friends, and it was one of those like, hey, did you hear? And it's like, what? No, that's not real. Shut up. And then you look it up and it's like, gosh, that's 100% real.
Crazy.
And of course, I'm like, oh, I went to school with that kid. I didn't, it wasn't like I was like friends with him or best friends. I remember seeing him in the hall. I always thought he was kind of like gothy.
Yeah.
Tall, skinny, gothy kind of kid. I knew him. I'm sure he was aware of who I was, but we didn't like hang out. His sister was real tall, real shy, real skinny, long hair, real shy. She hung with like the really smart kids, and it's just a really sad story.
And frustrating in that it feels like there was an opportunity to avoid this type of ending if things had been done differently.
To my knowledge, Scientologists still do not believe in traditional Western medicine. When they give birth, that was one of the stories about Katie Holmes a few years ago. When she gave birth, there was no medicine involved, and it was supposed to be a totally quiet environment. She wasn't allowed to make noises and scream. And it's like, have you ever had a baby? Because that hurts.
That's asking a lot.
Yeah. You pull a watermelon out of you and see if you don't scream.
I'd rather not. If given the opportunity, I will pass on that if possible.
So it's a story that has always, since I've known about it, it's always fascinated me. And I'm sure it's because I knew this person. It's like, whoa.
Right. To have that level of connection to something that worldwide story is kind of unsettling. Yeah. And to think you remember seeing him in the hall. I mean, and you could, that again just makes it way more personal.
Oh, I mean, I remember like his name. I was like, oh yeah, I remember him, because it was, even though we were a class of 365, I think most everybody knew at least name, face of everybody else. Mm-hmm. There might be one or two people now it's been so many years, that if you say their name, I'm like, who? Oh, right. But, I think most everybody at least knew people's names and faces.
So I tried to look up who the website who runs
Perkins Tragedy.
Yeah, so I went there, and it's got cms.cmu.edu. So it's like from a school.
A school, yeah.
So that's just interesting. Carnegie Mellon University.
So there's someone there that is very interested in Jeremy's case to have put this whole website together.
That's also another little mystery. So
that's minutia, Adam.
Yeah, that's my bag.
It really is minutia.
So the organization registered on whois.com, it says registered organization, death to telemarketers.
Okay.
What the heck?
All right. There's some of the links on this page that are not working, but
yeah, it feels like that. Maybe it was somebody's project or something at one time.
Maybe, and they just left it up.
Yeah, I mean, because they probably the domain's paid for through 2021, and it was updated in December of last year. So somebody's still paying for the domain name. Yeah, crazy. Well, I'm glad.
You know what? We're talking about the site, and I went and I looked up his actual statement again, and he says, I got up and had breakfast, and then I went upstairs to my bedroom and read, and then I went downstairs to watch a little TV when my mom asked me to take my vitamins. I took a handful every day, maybe 10 to 15. I don't like to take them because I always feel better if I don't. I told her I didn't want any today. I ended up taking the vitamins and flushing them down the toilet without my mom knowing. She then told me to go take a shower. I don't like it when she tells me to take a shower. I know when to take my own shower. I got mad, but I went upstairs to get my clothes. I went back downstairs to use the shower. My mom was in the kitchen painting. She paints on glass as a hobby. When I got out of the shower, I saw my mom was on the phone in the kitchen. I went in the kitchen and I took a pointed knife around 12 inches long with a brown handle. I got this from a drawer to the left of the sink. We have about 10 of these knives. They may be steak knives. I held the knife in my right hand behind my back, and she hung up the phone. I tried to slit my wrist after the shower with a utility knife, but I wouldn't die, so I decided to do my mom instead. I pushed her into her bedroom downstairs, and I stabbed her in the chest and right arm. She was screaming, "No, don't. Jeremy, no, don't." I stabbed her before she fell down. I was using a cross-stabbing motion while she was standing, and then I stabbed her about 10 more times in the stomach after she fell to the ground. I knew she was a goner.
Yeesh.
And then he says, I tried to cut her right eyeball out, but I knew it would not come out. I believed her eyes were evil. I took the knife in the kitchen and cleaned it up in the sink and then dropped it on the floor. I pulled the phone cord out of the wall. I was going to put the knife and my mom in the basement to hide her. We have a fallout shelter down there, but my neighbor Sharon came over, so I hid in my bedroom.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
The level of detail in that statement and the things that he shares that are just like the length of the knife and which drawer it was in, and it's just like there's a very strange level of detail about the wrong things.
He's very cognizant of details that I guess those are important details, though. If you look at it, what did the knife look like? They need to know.
Yeah.
How long was it? They need to know.
Yeah.
But his recollection on it is pretty clear.
Yeah, very clear. I mean, the details he gives on all the the non-living things, it barely gives any detail about his mom.
Well, he did say that. I mean, what details do you want him to give about her?
No, I don't know. It seemed very interesting that he was so detailed, because I don't think I could be that detailed about a lot of situations. So he clearly had a very clear recollection of what happened.
Yeah. There you go. You can find out again more on Perkins Tragedy. You just saw, Adam looked it up. It's still there. It's up until what, 2021, you said?
Yeah, it's the domain name was re-registered just last year. So somebody is still wanting this information out there, and still calling out the Church of Scientology and Tom Cruise.
All right. That is the story of Jeremy and Ellie Perkins. So, on to happier things.
Yeah. Wow. There's a weird connection between your story and my segment today is another, that guy from that thing, and he's or that guy from that show. He is one of my favorite character actors, and he's played a ton of different characters over time. And in fact, just a couple years ago, played Jesus Christ in a made-for-TV miniseries thing. So we've got that theme connecting the two. He didn't think he was Jesus Christ, but he actually used a bit of method acting and took a vow of silence while he was playing the character of Jesus Christ and wouldn't speak to anyone outside of filming time. So he stayed in character the whole time and had a little shack that he lived in, and wouldn't break character even when he wasn't on set.
Wow.
Yeah, so kind of crazy connection. So the gentleman that I am speaking of is a gentleman by the name of Cliff Curtis. Now the name.
You said Cliff Clavin.
Little known fact. Cliff Curtis. The name is not something that pops to mind, but if you saw a picture of Cliff, and we'll put up on the website, you would immediately recognize him. His acting career started out back in 1993 in a Oscar-nominated movie called The Piano. He played a young kid, and he actually said that the majority of his time on set, he was just sitting around waiting for his scenes, but they all got cut, so he's barely in the movie. He spent a ton of time on set, and that made him want to continue to get into acting. So Cliff was born in New Zealand. He is of Maori descent, and Maori. Yeah, I'm not good with names. Maori, Maori. Maori. Okay, perfect. And one of the interesting things about his acting career is that it wasn't until within the last couple of years that he finally got to play a character with his same ethnic background. But he's played just about every other ethnic background you could possibly have. He is known as a bit of a chameleon who can craft his look and his speech patterns and his characters in a way that honors these ethnicities that he is not, and stays true to them without having. And he says it's a very complicated opportunity to be given to try to play a different ethnicity. But he's played everybody from. I mean, he was even in. He was in The Last Airbender as Lord of the Fire Nation. But his career goes way back. So one of his first movies, of course, was The Piano. Barely in that one, but he really didn't start to get major movies until the late 90s. He was in Three Kings as one of the Iraqi rebels that George Clooney and Ice Cube and Spike Jonze and Mark Wahlberg are helping, but they're not supposed to be helping. He played a Latin drug dealer in Martin Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead, which is, if you haven't seen it, it stars Nicolas Cage as a paramedic, and it follows 3 different overnight shifts in an ambulance. It is frenetic, it is disturbing, but there are some great performances, and his psychotes as the drug dealer is outstanding. He played Pablo Escobar, yes, Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar, in the 2001 movie Blow with Johnny Depp. That same year, he also was in Training Day with Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington as Smiley, the Latin gang leader.
He plays a Latin character quite frequently.
He does. Yeah, he definitely does. He was also in The Majestic, which was a weird attempt by Jim Carrey to kind of do like a heartwarming non-comedy thing in the early 2000s. His most famous is probably Whale Rider, where he played the father of the main character. He was in Runaway Jury, which is the best John Grisham book and possibly the worst John Grisham movie. But he played Frank Herrera, one of the jurors. He's been in Live Free or Die Hard, which is my second favorite Die Hard movie of all time, as our deputy director Miguel Bowman, again playing a Latino character. He was in Push, also highly underrated. And of course, over the last couple of years, he was on TV in Fear the Walking Dead. From 2015 to 2017, he was one of the main characters, the family at the center of the Walking Dead spinoff. He was on the show for 21 episodes and was going to be on it more, except they killed him off in the beginning of season 3 because he had a scheduling conflict with the next big series of movies that he's got coming out, which he is in all of the Avatar movies that have been recorded. So he couldn't continue working on Fear the Walking Dead because he was having to do like 13 to 15 hour motion capture because he's one of the avatars, the blue people, the really tall Smurfs. So he couldn't work on Fear the Walking Dead anymore. But he, in every one of his, new roles, you could see him physically change. I mean, he looks, you can always tell it's him, but it's just such an amazing transformation. And even with his voice and how he, the accents he uses and the timbre and the tone, he really is a chameleon and can change from one thing to another and be in some really, heavy shows, but then also have, a little bit more, playful stuff. Like he was in the most recent Fast and the Furious Presents movie, Hobbs and Shaw with The Rock and Jason Statham. He played one of The Rock's brothers. So it's just an amazing ability that he has to do.
He did.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like in that, he looked a little bit different, so he is one of those guys that can morph into each character. And as somebody who studied acting in college and has done a little bit of acting, that ability to completely immerse yourself and create this entire new character is just really impressive to me. And honestly, probably something that Jeremy from our first segment today would have been interested in as well, with his potentially an option for him to use all of those voices in his head. He could have tried acting out. Would have been another option besides vitamins.
Gosh.
Just saying, it could be a good outlet. Definitely better than vitamins. But so there is a supercut of a bunch of his characters. It's about a minute, almost 2 minutes long, and we will post that onto a link to that on our website to check it out, because as much as I can try to explain it verbally, just seeing his transformation from character to character and all these different ethnicities that he's embodying, and how he changes everything about him, from his voice to his physical appearance to the way he moves, is an incredible thing to watch. So today's guy from that thing is Cliff Kirk.
The Fast and Furious is probably one. Well, you said he did play his own ethnicity, but that's probably one of the closer ones to what he is actually. As an islander, as a Maori from New Zealand, and that he was Samoan. Mm-hmm. Just a random side note.
Yeah, no,
you do it all the time.
No, I love it. You're very right, and I think it's and I'm going to say it. We could probably do a lot of episodes on some of the problems with the fact that it's so widely accepted that one person could play all of these different ethnicities. Now, he does it very well, and he morphs and he takes great care in doing it. But it also is a question of how Hollywood's issues with having racial diversity and representation over time, that they find one person and they keep choosing him to do all these different roles. He's great at it, but you also could cast a bit wider net and have a little bit more authenticity. So Hollywood, again, kind of finding a way to skirt the race issue when it probably should do a little bit more of stepping up.
Step your dang game up, Hollywood. Just saying. I think that's what I think. Not that The Rock is not a good actor, because he is, but I think that's a big appeal for him because he's so ambiguous.
Yeah.
He can look like anything.
Yeah.
Just like Cliff Curtis. He can look like several different ethnicities. And they don't have to go out and find all these new actors either.
That's somebody they know and they trust, and he does a good job, so he'll keep doing it.
So what is your favorite Cliff Curtis film?
For his performance, I mean, of all these, my favorite one is probably Live Free or Die Hard. But his performance as Pablo Escobar in Blow was incredible. And there's the scene in Training Day with Ethan Hawke where he's at the house and he's sitting, like he just met Smiley, and he's sitting at the kitchen table and Smiley's telling him the story about Denzel Washington's character. That scene is, I'm getting like goosebumps right now. It is an incredible scene in a very intense movie, but the power in that scene where you've got this young cop who's just trying to figure out where everything is going wrong today, and you can palpably feel his fear and the power of this, gentleman ironically named Smiley. So I would say for his performance might be Training Day or Blow.
Or Blow?
Yeah, Blow, where he plays Pablo Escobar. Because he goes head to head with Johnny Depp, and they play very well off each other, and it doesn't seem like one's a major star and one's just a guy. They're both incredibly talented. He also plays a lot of cops.
He seems to be, I won't say typecast because he does play a lot of different diverse things. But like you said, he does seem to play a lot of Latino gang characters, but then he also seems to play a lot of cops.
Yeah. So maybe what they should do is just have him play a Latino gang character and a cop in the same movie. I would watch that.
And now, is he two different people in this movie, or is he a Latino gang character that happens to be a cop?
He would be playing two different people.
Okay.
So I bet he could pull it off. And he'd probably look very different in each role.
Now, did you see Dr. Sleep with him?
I have not seen Dr. Sleep yet. Dr. Sleep, Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors, but that whole thing it was a very weird casting, and I didn't really enjoy the book, so I haven't really queued it up as one to watch.
He and Jason Statham have quite the history because they were also in The Meg together. I completely forgot he was in The Meg, but he's in that.
Yeah.
That movie, it was all right.
Yeah, that was a monster movie,
Yeah, big shark.
Big shark. Gonna get you. When I was doing some additional research on his background, there are surprisingly some message boards out there where people are like begging for the Meg 2.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, hey, that whatever you want to do, man. I just didn't realize there was that outpouring of we got to do this again.
But why?
I don't know.
Hey,
I mean, we don't. Jaws, unrelated. I'm shocked nobody's tried to remake Jaws.
No, but they are rebuilding the Jaws boat.
No.
Did you see that?
Yeah, that's great.
What? It's a classic.
It is.
A great artifact. Don't hate. Hater.
Yeah, I'm a hater. I am. I know it. I can accept that. So that's what I've got on that guy from that show, Cliff Curtis. He's pretty amazing, and he's a chameleon. And you'll find yourself just like Brooke and I have for the last 5 minutes. Go, oh my gosh, he was in that, and I remember him in that and that. So he is. That is the definition of that guy from that show.
That guy from that show.
I like
that.
Yeah.
That's going to be the theme for that.
Yeah. I love how all of our themes are basically just like, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me, from Monsters, Inc.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So at least we can trace our musical influences, and it's Mike Wachowski.
There you go. I like it. All right. So because I know how much you love this, we're going to do the remix.
Yay. Okay. So the one thing that keeps popping up for me, besides who made the website, because I'm definitely going to investigate that a little more, is
real fast. It looks like Anonymous may have been behind the ad.
oh, okay. Well, that
Mhm.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
They like to,
Which holy cow, but I can see why they got involved because Scientology is a worldwide organization. It wasn't just about this local person.
Yeah, it was an
But
opportunity to go after a big bad.
Yeah.
I think my one thing is that the family, even after all of this happened, and on the PerkinsTragedy.com, or I'm sorry, PerkinsTragedy.org website, they mentioned that the family has distanced themselves from Jeremy in jail and like basically cut off any contact with him, but remained very much a part of the Church of Scientology.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and like you said, they disconnected from him because that Scientology policy.
yeah, which I mean, even after all this, you're continuing to pick the church over your kid.
Mm-hmm. There's quite a few religions that you end up having to pick the religion over family. We won't even get into that because, as you would say, that could be a whole nother episode. Yeah. But it seems like this would have been a wake-up call to say something needed to be done differently. Right. Whether you went the psychiatry route or medicine route, even if you didn't want him to have medicine, even having him sit down to just talk to someone. If it wasn't a psychiatrist, it could have been a Scientologist therapist. I don't know, but there had to be a different it seems like there should have been a different outcome.
Yeah, feels like
a different route that
missed opportunities.
It's really tragic because I'm sure if he is on proper medication now, he is living with what he did every day.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's a really sad fact as well, because now if he is correctly medicated, correctly getting correct therapy and correct help, even he might say, this was avoidable.
Yeah.
I killed my mom and this was something that could have not happened.
Which is, I can only imagine what that's like to live with.
Or maybe he's so drugged up he doesn't know. But I feel like if he is getting the proper help he's supposed to, then he's got to be living with that guilt every day.
Right. When
it comes to Cliff Curtis.
Yes.
Dude's pretty hardcore BA.
Yeah. He rarely I don't think I've ever seen him play a softie.
No. He goes hard on his roles. He really does. It is funny sitting here thinking, in the Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, and it was like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. Because I was like, no, he wasn't. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. He had braids.
Yeah. Long braids.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like the main brother.
Yeah. Him and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had a good sized role in that movie.
Yeah. He's good.
So are you excited about the new Avatar movies?
I didn't really like the first one, so I'm probably like the last person on earth that doesn't like them, but there wasn't anything new about it. It was Dances with Smurfs.
I wonder how they will introduce him because he wasn't in the original.
Yeah, like I don't know how they're going to do a lot of that, but I know that there's a good portion of this one is underwater.
Huh.
Or there's like where they lived in those like in the like the islands in the sky sort of thing on that planet. But I guess there a lot. I've heard that there were a lot of underwater stuff in the sequels. So maybe his crew is underwater. That's gonna be interesting.
All right. So, of course, if you have any stories for us, we would love to hear them. You can DM us on Instagram. You can private message us on Facebook, on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, it's A-side_B-side_podcast. Facebook, it's A-side, B-side podcasts with an S. You can also leave us a voicemail on anchor.fm/A-Side B-Side. We would love to hear if you've got a murder story that you maybe grew up with or have heard of that happened in your hometown, something that maybe happened where you went to school and college, or if you've got a movie or a soundtrack, maybe a weekend top 40 like Adam last week had that just really impacted you.
And it's been cool to have people reach out about the things that we've already talked about and say like, oh yeah, I remember that story, or that was so disturbing, or hey, I hadn't thought about that movie or that song in years. Thank you. So it's really cool. Even if it's just like feedback like that, it's awesome.
Yes, 100%. We love it. We love you. Thank you so much for taking the journey with us. Also, merch coming very, very soon. I don't know, by the time this is posted, it may be on our website. So keep checking our website under the tab AB Market. We'll have merch there. You've got a shirt on the way that you ordered.
Yes.
Are you excited about it?
My hope is that I will wear it out and people will ask, what the heck is that all about?
I love it. It actually this is really crazy. So I am originally from upstate New York, Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. And the distribution center for where your shirt shipped from is in upstate New York, Rochester. And it just went through Niagara Falls today.
Oh, my shirt is getting to visit so many cool places.
Tell me that's not a cool connection right there.
That is. It's
especially
a small
with the
world.
hometown story. I know. I love it. So again, thank you so much. This is always so much fun. I know the stories can get kind of heavy, but there's just something about, I don't know what it is. Something about true crime. Of course, everybody stay safe, but ladies, keep your eyes and ears open. Pay attention to your surroundings. Trust your gut. You know, if that dude looks like a creep, he might be a creep.
Probably.
It's okay to think he's a creep, especially if it keeps you safe. That's what I say.
Be safe.
Keep your keys handy.
Be safe. No scrubs.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the song from last week. Did your daughter listen to the podcast?
We have not talked about it.
I was wondering if she had reminded you of the artist from last week.
No, I'll have to double check with her again. I totally forgot.
Okay.
And we spent like 6 hours in a car on Monday, so had plenty of time to talk about it.
We see where your priorities are, and it's not the podcast.
Yeah, I'm trying to teach her to drive.
Mm-hmm. I see. Driving is more important. I got it.
You caught me.
Oh goodness! All right, so you're off to do your fantasy football.
Yeah, I got to do a draft so I can continually finish in 7th place. Super exciting. I've been 5 years running 7th place.
Nice.
Consistency.
7 is a lot. Unfortunately, not a lucky number for you, but
Yeah, it's only a 12-team league, so it's real bad.
All right, Adam. Look forward to next week. Thanks.
Thanks, Brooke. Bye.
Bye. Nice.
Yeah, once we clean everything up, there definitely is 20 minutes of cuts there.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go try to figure out football.
All right, have fun.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.